What is up, guys, and welcome back to another series here with Under the Microscope. We're going to get started a bit early here. It's a little early for me, but hopefully that won't affect things. So let's just get started. Again, a few housekeeping things. If you haven't seen my previous video, you'll know that I opened up my Patreon page just a couple weeks ago. So feel free to check that out. Become a patron if you want to. I put up a few, quote-unquote goodies up there, so if you, subscribe for like $5 a month or something like that, you get a couple perks. So go ahead, check that out. I'll leave it in the description below and maybe somewhere on this page here so you can see that. It would definitely help me in the long run. Going into this, I knew that I would have to be funding myself, but it would also really help me reduce the number of ads that I put on my videos. So if you're interested in that, please do check it out. And if you're not interested in that, don't worry about it. Keep watching my content, keep watching my videos. That alone just makes me very, very happy. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's jump right into it. So, if you didn't know, this past weekend, I got 25th place at the Star City Games Modern Open with Jeskai Saheeli. And, I'm kind of on a Saheeli high right now. I feel like it's actually pretty well positioned in the metagame right now. There's very little Lightning Bolt, which is probably the most efficient, removal spell that stops the combo. And even Fatal Push doesn't quite hate us out. They have to trigger Revolt and things of that nature. So today we're going to do something a little different with Under the Microscope. I would say that Emeria Control, Emeria Titan, whatever you want to call the deck, normally a blue-white deck or just a straight white deck, it doesn't get much exposure. Modern is a very fast format, and there's not a lot of grinding to be done. But I think that right now, out of all the time in Modern's history, it could be one of the best times to grind. Ad nauseum is at an all-time low. There are decks that can win very quickly, but if you can disrupt them, it's not the end of the world. So I think playing this long game, I'm not sure we do it better than Tron, but we do have also an infinite combo locked into this grindy mid-range package here with some really powerful top end in the form of Sun Titan. So let's jump into some of the deck card choices in the deck here. So of course, Path to Exile is a premium white removal spell. If you're in white, 100% play it. We're playing 3 Felidar Guardian and 4 Saheeli Rai. Saheeli Rai combos also with Sun Titan, which we're playing, which is why we're not going all in on the Felidar Guardian Saheeli combo, especially because we don't have as much filtering in the deck. So we're kind of just going for the value plan with this incidental combo. And so Felidar and Sun Titan, combo very efficiently with our 3 mana and 2 mana spells here. So we have Pilgrim's Eye to fetch basic lands from our deck. We have Corvusar to basically look at the top 3 cards of our deck and pick one, like Anticipate, right? That's the card, basically, and Anticipate on a stick. We have Flicker Wisp that just generally does some awesome things with Sun Titan, and all of our other 2 mana, 3 mana blink spells. We have the Tension Sphere, which can handle a very troublesome permanent, and also can be reset or gotten back from the graveyard with Sun Titan, Felidar Guardian, Flicker Wisp, etc., etc. Wall of Omens is our premium 2-drop slot, basically. It's just exactly what we want to be doing. We want to be clogging up the board and drawing cards. And then we also want to force our opponent to overextend, because we do play 3 Supreme Verdict. That's the way we clean up the board against creature decks. We just Supreme Verdict. Then we have 2 Lone Missionary. This is just a nice solid card against burn, against aggro. Just some life buffer here and there, especially if you can Flicker Wisp it on turn 3, or Saheeli Riot, gaining all that life against decks that expend their resources just to get your life total down can be a huge swing. We play 1 Spreading Seas just because it's something that can be gotten from the graveyard with Sun Titan. It's this nice kind of like 5th cantrip after Wall of Omens, and it can, deal with a lot of troublesome decks right now, like Eldrazi Tron, or just mana screw all the greedy decks out there. And then one of the coolest things this deck does is Mortar Pod. Now, if you're not familiar with Mortar Pod, you can equip it to a creature, and then it has sacrifice this creature. This creature deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So this is your engine, in a sense. You can equip it to things that are about to die, or something you want to die. That way you can recur it with Sun Titan, and you can just basically go crazy with it, and just accrue a ton of value while pinging your opponent's life total or their creatures. You know, it was really powerful when Infect was still in the format. That's, you know, it's not as big of a deck these days, but there's still plenty of things to ping in the format, whether it's like Mana Dorks or Dark Confidants or things like that. There's still definitely things to use it on, while just getting things into our graveyard constantly. So that's the main deck. Let's talk about the lands. Of course, I almost forgot the best land in the deck. That's going to be Emeria the Sky Ruin here. So enters the battlefield tapped. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 7 or more planes, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So even if your opponent does kill your Sun Titan, you get this kind of inevitability where every upkeep you're just returning a Sun Titan. And it's crazy value. So we're running 3 Hollow Fountains, 3 Plains, 2 Sacred Foundries, a few fetches. So we do only have 8 Plains in the deck, but it's definitely doable to get there. We run some fetches in order to splash our for our red splash, and then we also play 4 Ghost Quarter, just because Tron is one of the worst matchups, and we can also just mana screw our opponents in combination with Sun Titan and recurring Ghost Quarter, etc., etc. So it's definitely an outlet of attack that we can attack from. This mana base I looked around and I tried to build it as best as I could, based on what other people were doing. I hope these 4 Ghost Quarters won't be a liability. We will definitely find out. We're barely a red deck. But we will see how badly that may hurt us. We might need more Plains in the deck. I'm not sure. We may need to max out on Hollow Fountain. We may need to play 2 or 3, or 1 more Sacred Foundry, maybe 1 more Plains. You know, I don't know. But this is why we're doing Under the Microscope. We're just going to try to evaluate this deck and see how well it might perform. So let's talk about the sideboard a bit. We have our Graveyard Hate for things like Dredge. We have Rest in Peace, Relic of Progenitus. Basically, that's what they do. We have our Tron Hate and our Affinity Hate and etc. Colorless Hate. Stony Silence, Ceremonious Rejection, 2 of the best ways to do that. Blessed Alliance is just a great way to also attack Burn, as well as, you know, decks like Bogles or Eldrazi Tron or Death Shadow, being able to make them sacrifice a creature while even potentially causing your opponent to gain life, which is very relevant against Death Shadow, because it says target player gains 4 life. So all these little things can come up, and I think it's a great card to be playing right now, even though you can't really recur it or anything. Dispel is a pretty good card, because what I said before, combo is one of our worst matchups. I forgot to mention, we are running 2 main deck negate, just because combo is one of our worst matchups. 100% horrible matchup. We want to have as many ways to interact with them as possible, whilst not, you know, diluting the deck too much, and still having a way to kind of like protect the combo in a sense. So it does double duty, and it's not completely a dead card. So I like negate. But anyways, Dispel is going to be great for combo or control, as this is extra piece of negate. So that we have 3 negate, 2 Dispel in the 75, and that should put us at a decent position against opposing combo decks. We have an extra Detention Sphere just to deal with, you know, like non-creature or creature permanents that cause trouble, helps against Lingering Souls and things like that. So I do like Detention Sphere a lot in the deck. Then we also play 2 Wear Tear, just because like it's a really good Jeskai card. You know, if you're in Jeskai colors, I really like having at least 1, and this deck has some sideboard space to maneuver with. So Wear and Tear is my my kind of flex slot of choice. I think it can actually deal with a lot of like annoying things that decks do these days. You know, it can deal, especially, I mean, Lantern Control is not huge, but it's also a really horrible matchup. Wear Tear just comes straight into that matchup. It can come in against Eldrazi Tron, it can come in against Affinity. There's just a lot of things that it can do that, like, especially against Affinity, once, like, your opponent has resolved, like, a Cranial Plating, it's really hard to deal with it. So Wear Tear is a great way to freely destroy it and then sweep the board and not be, like, blindsided by, like, a hit by a bunch, you know, from like a man, land, or a creature or something like that. You know, it's just kind of this extra insurance against one of the toughest decks in the format, which we should be relatively well positioned against, considering how much we grind and our verdicts and paths and things like that. But we just can't always get there, and we need some help from the sideboard. Affinity is a deck that can just barf their hand on turn 1 before you even play a land. So it's important to play these spells that can make some tricky matchups a little easier. So that's the 75. We're gonna go ahead and do our 3 matches. This is Under the Microscope. It's the new series I'm going for. It's a much less established deck that we're exploring right now, and we're gonna run it through some games and see how it performs. So let me know in the comments what you think of this 75. If any of you have experience with Emeria Titan or Saheeli Titan or whatever you want to call it, feel free to place some comments. Let me know if you think I built this deck correctly, and if not, hopefully we can make a better iteration and highlight this deck a bit more next time around. But with that said, thank you so much for watching the deck tech here with Emeria Saheeli. And stay tuned for the first round of testing with this deck. See you soon. Alright guys, welcome to the first match here with Emeria Saheeli. Looks like we're on the draw, but we have a pretty decent hand here. We'll go ahead and keep. We got turn 2 plays, we got turn 3 plays. That's more than we can ask for with this deck, right? So Marsh Flats. So our opponent just... Alright, so we're going to go ahead and lead on Flooded Strand here. That way we can fetch up a Sacred Foundry. And that will let us cast a turn 3 Saheeli if we want to. So this hand is actually pretty... it's pretty good. We have a lot of interaction. We have lands. And we have... Alright, so Overgrown Tomb. That could be... Marshlands into Overgrown Tomb makes me think of junk, right? Thoughtseize. Yeah, that's fine. So if they take negate, it kind of lets me know that they have like Liliana of the Veil in hand. Otherwise, I mean, maybe it's just worthwhile to keep up negate anyways if they take one of these 3-drops. It depends. It's really hard to say what our opponent might have here. They might just have two discard spells here back to back. But what's nice is we're not facing down like a Tarmogoyf for Dark Confidant right now. Because like this Thoughtseize into like a Dark Confidant, like taking our Path to Exile, that would have been a really tough thing for us to come back from. Like Dark Confidant is one of the most difficult things for non-Lightning Bolt decks to deal with. And giving your opponent a land for it, and then just like ramping them into their 3, potentially 4 drops, can be pretty tough. Wow, they took Wall of Omens. That is aggressive. I'm gonna go ahead and fetch here, anyways. Get a Sacred Foundry tapped. And then I'll go ahead and probably shock this Hollowed Fountain. I mean, what else are we doing? Possibly should have just led on Hollowed Fountain tapped. That way we may have taken less life. I'm not sure. Plains is not a bad draw. But still, we'll go ahead and shock. And so now we have nothing to flicker, really, with Flicker Wisp. But not too worried here. Unfortunately, Saheeli Rai and Flicker Wisp, while they can interact, it's not a combo. So we'll just have to be cautious of how we play and make sure to get the most value off of our cards. It's possible that our opponent has a very reactive hand, but taking Wall of Omens just doesn't make much sense to me. Really, maybe they didn't think I would shock to play negate. Okay, Grim Flare, sure. Is that worth Path to Exiling? I think so. I think I want to path that. Interesting. So this means they might not have Liliana of the Veil. Spreading Seas is actually a pretty nice draw. It means I can try to cut them off of double black and then maybe not even have to worry about Liliana of the Veil. And then it would allow me to get value off of my Flicker Wisp next turn too. Yeah, I kind of like that actually. Or maybe I should just keep up. But if they play another creature, that's just going to feel so bad. I think I want to cut them off of more green sources than white. Just in case they have like Scavenging Ooze. I just want to pressure that. Alright, Emeria is a nice draw, especially in a grindy match like this. It's one of those matches where you're probably going to get it going, you know, especially because we're not under a lot of pressure. So here we hope not to see another black source. The fact that they played Plains last turn kind of makes me think that they don't have another way to get a black source. Of course, they could have just easily drawn it, and we don't have negate up right now. So, you know, all right, Scavenging Ooze. So that's exactly why we pressured their green sources. Alright. We got something going here, right? We could just jam Saheeli, but my guess is our opponent has some sort of interaction in hand. If it's a Path to Exile or something like that. So right now I'm just going to go for the value play. I'm going to flicker my Spreading Seas. And so that's going to give him a turn with... It's going to give them one turn with, like, Abrupt Decay mana here. But they'll have it next turn anyways. And they didn't even do anything with it, so that's great for us. Now we can just try to block Scavenging Ooze. Not sure what our opponent... Maybe our opponent missed the opportunity here. Drew another Flicker Wisp, which is great. Alright, Path to Exile. That's great. That actually sets us up to combo next turn. Yes, we want to use Path to Exile's ability, get a Plains. So if they tap out next turn, we can go ahead and just combo them off in one turn here. But it depends how they play their turn. Alright, so they're Abrupt Decaying the Spreading Seas, which is good. It means they have one less... Oh, wow. Alright, that's... Unless they play, like, Untapped Land plus Path to Exile, that should be game right here. Our opponent stumbled a bit, I would say, with the sequencing. It is hard to understand that that is how Spreading Seas works. But we'll go ahead and just combo our opponent here. Yeah, they could have Slaughter Pact. Of course, I'm not playing around that. And that's the game. Alright. So Abzan, Relic of Progenitus is pretty good here. Rest in Peace is iffy, because it's really good against Tarmogoyf, but it's pretty bad everywhere else. More answers to turn 3 Liliana might be useful. We'll put that in here. Mortar Pod is not great. We're gonna cut... Actually, let's cut Lone Missionary before we cut Mortar Pod. This is actually probably one of the worst cards in this matchup here. It doesn't generate value or anything like that. Detention Sphere could be a good way to answer Lingering Souls. Could be a good way to answer Liliana the Veil. Let's go ahead and put it in. I'm not too focused on comboing in this matchup, so maybe we can cut one Mortar Pod. You know, we can just grind our opponent just as easy as we can combo them. That was kind of just incidental, of course, and that's what's great about the deck. Excuse me. All right. I think that's pretty good. That's a good setup. I'm not gonna side into spells for Path to Exile. If they want to Path to Exile my value creatures, just like you saw with Flicker Wisp, basically they gave us an extra land, and we already drew a card off of Flicker Wisp, and it ramped us right into the combo. So, in general, I think I'm very okay with that. Okay, and hopefully we can play some Sun Titans this game, because that card is absolutely backbreaking for grindy decks like Abzan or Jund to deal with. It's just a nightmare. Now Abzan can deal with it a little better because they have Path to Exile, but we still get value off of it from once it enters the battlefield. Now Jund is the one that will absolutely cry themselves to sleep. We'll go ahead and mulligan this hand. This is a much better hand. Wall of Omens on top. You know, it actually keeps Grimflayers at bay. So we're going to go ahead and keep it on top. Even though it's not a land, I'm still going to go ahead and keep it. Alright, looks like our opponent has some Disruption turn 1. They will likely take Relic of Progenitus, because that is a really, really good card here. Yep. See you later, Relic. We'll go ahead and just play Hollowed Fountain tapped and draw a card. The beauty of this is like they're kind of forced to take Relic if that's the plan they're going on. However, taking Sun Titan would actually be like probably the smarter plan if we didn't have this Relic. Just because we'll get to this point, you know, unless they like lock us out with Liliana of the Veil really early, we're gonna get to cast Sun Titan, and when we do, it's gonna be absolutely miserable for our opponent. And that's probably what they're thinking. Yeah, so they took the Sun Titan. You know, that's just how good it is. We'll go ahead and play the Relic, and we'll make our opponent exile something, keep their Delirium down. There could be an argument to playing this later, because they could just Abrupt Decay it now and we can't draw a card, but if they Abrupt Decay my 1-drop, and then they're not developing their board either, I'm kind of happy about that. Alright, Grim Flare. You know, that's fine. We're going to be able to block it with Wall of Omens and keep their graveyard on lockdown. Now, if they go ahead and like push my Wall of Omens, they get some triggers and they get to fix some of their draws, but in general, I think we're in a pretty good spot. So let's go ahead and start there. 0 card types for our opponent because Delirium. We'll go ahead and shock here. Play a Wall of Omens. We can block Grim Flare. And Supreme Verdict, not a bad draw, not a bad draw. We do want to see some lands though. This is definitely the point where, you know, we want to hit our land drops with this deck. And that's what I was thinking about. You know, maybe this deck needs 24, 25 lands, especially how focused it is and how many 6-drops it plays. Like the fact that my opponent took a 6-drop when, you know, we barely have any lands, and I don't know. I think if I was my opponent, I would have taken the Relic. I think that card causes far more headaches than Sun Titan will in, you know, at least 5 turns. Sorry. And at most, it could be much more than that. You know, we're not... Alright, so our opponent is not... Alright, Tarmogoyf. Sure. That's pretty good for us. You know, the Supreme Verdict might be really strong. If we could draw some lands. Alright, so our opponent still doesn't have anything in the graveyard. We're going to go ahead and block here if they attack. No attacks. Makes sense. Sacred Foundry, great draw. Interestingly, let's just go ahead and cast another Wall of Omens. I could have cast Flicker Wisp. I kind of want to set up for... I'm going to go ahead and actually shock that just in case I want to crack the Relic for whatever reason. And I don't think so we could set up here for a really good Supreme Verdict. If our opponent just keeps overextending into these Wall of Omens. And that's the beauty of Wall of Omens. Like, okay, do I send a removal spell at one of these just to get a little bit of damage in? No, you know, that's very rarely the choice. Alright. 1 on each. Say okay. Alright, that went better than expected. I was worried. I should have cracked Relic in response. Or not cracked. I should have, you know, used Relic. Sounds like Henny's expertise here. Siege Rhino. Yeah, sure. That's a Rhino. That is a Rhino. Sure. Okay. So drawing land here for Supreme Verdict would feel pretty good. D-Sphere. What are our options here? Let's think about it. We can go Flicker Wisp on Wall of Omens to draw a card. We could Detention Sphere Siege Rhino, or we could keep up Negate. And I think keeping up Negate is the worst line of those. And I actually want to, I don't know, keep Detention Sphere in case of like a Liliana the Veil. So I'm actually just going to go ahead and go for the value play here. And this I can actually use to block a lot of things. And we just get to draw a card here. And hopefully hit our 4th land drop soon. And we get to draw a card. Alright, that's our 4th land. Exactly what we were looking for. Alright, there's our opponent plays a land. If they crack it, as soon as they crack it, we're gonna... alright. We're not gonna make that mistake again. Not that it's a huge mistake or anything, but it's just something to keep in mind. Let's see. Alright, so they're fetching a lot of basics, which is really interesting. Lingering Souls. Wow, this Supreme Verdict is going to be insane if they just overextend. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is going to be absolutely insane. Oh. They're not going to know what hit them. They are not going to know what hit them. Alright, so I imagine they just attack with Siege Rhino here. Yeah, we say okay. We'll block here. Sure. Okay. Alright, so we could, should we get just basic planes here? We may want a turn where we go negate plus detention sphere, so I'm actually just going to go ahead and shock here. They're probably going to block Flicker Wisp, so... I mean, yeah, maybe I should attack, but... let's just go ahead and feel good about this. That is a lot of something for one. I don't know what it is, but literally every card we played drew a card for itself. Relic will draw a card for itself. Inquisition, sure. You get to take Negate or D-Sphere. Probably D-Sphere is my guess. Just because it can answer, yeah. Alright, Tarmogoyf. Okay. Tarmogoyf is not scary. Not in the slightest. And our opponent is on 0 cards. This is... our opponent has fetched a lot of basics too. Let's remember that. Let's go ahead and just, you know, make our opponent exile some stuff. Tarmogoyf's a 3/4. So what we can do here is play a Flooded Strand. And we can actually keep up Negate. And so we didn't get value off of Feldar Guardian, which is not the end of the world. I'm kind of not wanting to pop Relic yet, just in case we draw Sun Titan. But if our opponent attacks, I will definitely block plus crack Relic. Yeah, but they're not going to attack here, most likely. Attacking would absolutely just be a blowout, especially because we have all the information. I mean, so we're definitely favored in this position. Like, yeah, we have 2 cards, they have 0 cards. I mean, we have essentially 3 cards, and our one like extra draw card here can blank their 1 card completely. So I definitely think like this Relic has really changed the pace of the game. Like, yeah, we'd be casting Sun Titan like this turn, this next coming turn. Alright. But I don't think our opponent should have so aggressively taken Sun Titan. Let's go ahead and just keep going. You know, this is the point where our opponent could draw something good. I want a path to exile them before I start popping off these Ghost Quarters, to see if they have more basic lands and to see if that's something worth doing. Tarmogoyf is a 4/5, huh? Interesting. Alright, so they're attacking, and I'm going to say... let's block. And let's let's crack the Relic. Do you have a relevant card in hand? That's another Feldar Guardian. I'll take it. Do we trade? Do you have an instant? Come on, come on. What do you got for me? Yeah, alright, so our opponent didn't particularly see that line that we could have taken, but we got there. Let's see what we were drawing. Arid Mesa, so we wouldn't have drawn much, but that was just a trade that was just too much for our opponent. Alright, so there you got to see the power of the grind in that matchup. It shines especially well against, you know, green-black decks like this, which are not very high in the format right now, but you do get some really, really sweet grindy games against Abzan, Jund, etc., etc. Alright, so thanks for watching. That was the first match with Emeria Saheeli, and stay tuned for another match coming up soon.